Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. Another episode of Banish the Doubt. This afternoon, I want to talk about, is it possible that we can consciously improve our immune system by 50%? Is that possible? Today, I'm going to show you how we can do that. So first off, I want to start with 95% of who we are, okay, is coming straight out of the programming that we downloaded from others in our lives. Now, I put here my cancer had nothing to do with genes. It was my programming. So, for some of you who are subscribers to my channel, if you haven't already done so, if you want to hit the subscribe button at any time during this video and hit the notification bell, you get all my videos. So, I I was diagnosed with cancer and I came through it. And that's part of the reasons why I'm making these videos. Because when a life event takes place like that, you tend to, a lot of people say, okay, I'm going to course correct and find out what's going on. And I found out a lot of my reason was for my programming. So, we don't understand that, or never been taught to us, at least I don't think so. It was never taught to me that from the third trimester, when we were in our mom's womb, up until age 7, just like this computer here, when we were in our third trimester, our brain went on. And from that point through age 7, everything was programmed into us. So, who programmed these behaviors into us? Parents, society, school, um, relatives, right? All these people unknowingly programmed us. So we then become 95% of who we are by the time we're 35 becomes a memorized set of these programs. So it's why somebody can say, who knows you and then knows your parents, hey, Bob, or hey, Jose, or hey, John, you're just like your dad. Everybody else can see it, but not Bob or not John or not Jose. Same thing with like Maria or Michelle or Lucy or whatever, just like your mom. They don't really see it. It's because of the programming. It's the same, and I have here, this is a very difficult drawing of a car, but you see here, um, listening to music, okay? When we're listening to music, and this goes on for say 1 or 2 or 3 miles, or we're thinking as we're driving, and how many times does this happen? I know it's happened to me a whole heck of a lot of times. Listening to music, thinking about that person, be it a coworker, be it a family member, be it your boss, and you're talking to that person even though they're not in the car. You're rehashing what happened. They upset you somehow, and you're going to get their pound of flesh. And this is what I would have told them, by golly. And the next thing you know, we're like, oh, I've been driving for how long? And I didn't even realize I was driving, because our subconscious, the autopilot, took over and was driving the car. It's the programming. We do something so often, just like tying our shoelaces, it becomes downloaded into us, and it's the programming that does it. We don't do it consciously. Just like the fact if someone would ask you, hey, how do you get to work? And you can tell them, well, I take this street and that road or that highway, and you don't really pay attention after a while, because why? It's programmed into you, same as our life. So 95% of who we are comes straight out of this program that was downloaded from others in our lives. I said about my cancer, okay? Third trimester, the brain wakes up to age 7. Our programming is downloaded, okay? Our subconscious, our programming is set here with this response. It responds. It's the subconscious. It's auto. So I have here Skinner's box. And for those of you who don't know, these were some doctors who put a mouse in a box and gave it bits of cheese. And it rewarded it with this cheese. It also hit it with electric shocks whenever it didn't do what they wanted it to do. And they wanted to find out if they could get the mouse to act exactly the way they wanted. So who does this? Well, global government, right? Big pharma, corporations, the news, the media, schools, religions. How many times have, I know myself, Irish Catholic growing up, right? Well, if you didn't go to church, you were sinning. And if you didn't go to confession, you were sinning, right? And how many times in schools, at least when I was growing up, it'd be a little different today, but you got a report card. How well were you doing? If you couldn't learn some certain subject, this type of conditioning goes in, especially in schools as well. You were bullied. I can remember, I can remember being in school and being bullied because I didn't know the names of a song or the lyrics to a song. It wasn't Google. They didn't have Google back then. We didn't have any cell phones. And if you answered, right? And so now this programming is put into me. So if I answer the wrong way, I'm going to get a reaction, and most likely a negative reaction. So this type of trepidation is downloaded into us, and it starts to show itself later on. After we're 7 years old, we start to, like a keyboard here on my computer, we start to download our own programming into our body, and we give off this energy. So, based on the programming that's inside of us, there's an energy that's emitted from us that goes out to the world. And oftentimes, almost every time, we attract back to us exactly who that energy is giving off to. Like attracts like. So, it's why somebody who maybe ends up becoming a CEO of a corporation or the owner of their own corporation, you never really see them kind of hanging around with anybody in lower management or support staff, because they're different. They're vibrating at a different level. There's different energy that's giving off. So we continue, okay? COVID-19. 70% of those who were affected by COVID were already in nursing homes, so they all were already affected. They already were obese or had heart problems, respiratory issues. But the COVID is also something that was put out there into the media, and then we had the reaction to it. Wasn't a positive one either, right? So, thoughts are the language of the brain, feelings are the language of the body. Thoughts are the language of our brain, and feelings are the language of our body. And our state of being is how we think and how we feel creates our state of being. Thoughts are the language of the brain, feelings are the language of the body, and how we think and how we feel creates our state of being. Our environment signals a gene in our bodies, and the end product of an experience in the environment is called an emotion. I'll say it again. Our environment signals the genes inside of our body. And the end product of an experience in this environment is called an emotion. That's the end product. Okay, so the event signals the environment signals the emotion signals the gene, okay? And that the gene that we live in, and these genes make up proteins. So again, the event signals the environment that we live in, that we're in. The environment produces the emotion. The emotion signals or produces the gene that we live in, and the genes make proteins. A lot of times we'll call this stress. And there are three types of stress our bodies process. First is physical. So those would be accidents, falls, and injuries. The second type of stress our bodies produce or process is chemical. Hangovers, toxins, pollutants, bacteria. Pollutants and bacteria. And there's others. The third type is emotional. So this would be like a single parenting situation. Second mortgage on a house, a divorce, a family tragedy. These are all emotional stresses that our bodies process. It comes in from the outside, mostly all from the outside, okay? Each one knocks the body out of balance. Each type of stress knocks our body out of balance. ANS stands for the autonomic nervous system. Its job is to regulate the nervous system, is to break down the blood sugars in our bodies and create balance, or what we refer to as homeostasis. That's what our autonomic nervous system does, and I'll talk more about this in a few minutes. Emotions connected to the stress hormones. So the emotions of anger, jealousy, resentment, hate, fear, competition, frustration, guilt, envy, shame, or just a few of some of these emotions that are connected to these stress hormones. So our thoughts produce an image. The image produces a response, and a response produces an emotion. Okay, so our thoughts, so we get a thought and a feeling that immediately conditions the body to that state or how we think and how we feel. So you can say we just can get, we can just have a thought alone turns on this stress response. Okay, where I place my attention is where I place my energy. So then we get to the point where we can just think of something and immediately we start to get this response. And where I place my attention is where I place my energy. So if our attention, right, going back to the situation in the car, okay, the example, if our attention or thought is going to an event that had taken place or has yet to take place. So if we're driving and we're not talking to that person from an event that took place, but we're anticipating an event, a job interview, whatever it may be, meeting with a client, some whatever it may be, just the thought alone is turning on the stress response. And where I place my attention, okay, is where I place my energy. So the energy is being, our body is starting to work chemically inside of us, and we don't even realize it. And our subconscious programming is programming the car. Oftentimes, our subconscious program will play itself out. So you have a job interview. If your subconscious programming is one of, I don't have all that much um, confidence in myself. I don't have all that much self worth, things of that nature. That is going to come out because it's already programmed in and it's unconscious. This is why people, you'll hear the sayings, doesn't matter what you say, it's how you act that says everything. Because how we're acting is our subconscious programming. And sometimes that comes out with the way we talk. Okay. So to the body does not know if the emotion or the feeling is coming from a real life experience happening in the present, or if it's a memory of the past or an anticipated experience. To the body, it is exactly the same. It's how we behave. We become addicted to the life we don't even like. So to our body, like saying, to our body, when we're thinking about something that has happened in the past, right? We're hanging on to emotions from the past, or we're anticipating some kind of a worst case scenario. The body doesn't understand whether it doesn't, it's not a, it's so objective it can't tell whether it's in the future or in the past. It just feels like it's happening now. So chemically, it's acting as if it's taking place right now. And we oftentimes, many of us, will end up becoming addicted to the life we don't even like. So you'll see this playing out. Like, for instance, I was thinking about the movie It's a Wonderful Life. Many of you have heard of it, and I'm sure many of you have seen it many, many, many times. But one of the parts of the movie that was very infamous or famous is what? When Jimmy Stewart, his character, right, George Bailey, he realizes all the money's gone. And what does he say? I need to go get a what? I need to go get a stiff drink. You see, so the messaging, the subtle messaging there to people watching, especially young people, is what? Well, if I'm stressed, I go get a drink. And the drink is what? Is going to take the edge off, we call it, right? This is why we end up with chemical stressors our body processes these chemical stresses, the hangover. But the messaging is if you're under stress, then you need to go get some sort of alcohol in order to relax yourself, or a cigarette, or take some other form of narcotics or drugs. This is, I was talking about the Skinner's box. This is the way big government, big pharma, right? All of that controls us. It's the cheese. Here, you want some cheese? Here you go. And then if you act out, we're going to hit you with electric shock, right? Because if you get sick, well, who's going to be the beneficiary? Big pharma. And who's big pharma tied into like this? Big government. See what I'm saying? So we don't even realize we're becoming addicted to the life we don't even like. And 99, well, 95% of our who we are is made up. It's a collection, a memorized set of emotional reactions, right? Of hardwired behaviors, perceptions, right? So we hear gossip all the time. For little children, we're learning gossip, right? We're 2 years old. Well, the programming is what? We gossip. Why? Because that's what mom and dad did. That's what Aunt Betty did and Uncle Jack and whatever. If you're a young guy growing up and you see, your father or your uncles were philanderers or, they really didn't have much respect for their wives, what was the messaging? This is women are, second class citizens. If you grew up watching an Archie Bunker, right? Now, he becomes sort of, you kind of understood, but you see a lot of that, the messaging, what's taking place today. COVID, brink of World War III, the economy is horrible, right? Oh, climate change, the world's going to end in a few years. Well, and I'm going to talk more about that here in a second, but this is the functioning, or this is what we call normal, right? This is what society calls normal. So when we relive an event or obsess about something that may or may not happen, our bodies, down regulate genes. So this is the genes I was talking about a few minutes ago. We down regulate genes. And we know this by what? By how we feel, because this requires a lot of energy. So we get to the point in life, ladies and gentlemen, maybe some of you have experienced this already. I have. I remember driving one day on a highway, and all of a sudden I was like I'm having trouble breathing. Well, at least I thought. I'm having a panic attack. It just came out of nowhere. So our body has a panic attack without us because our bodies are down regulating these genes because we are 35 years old or older. We become memorized set of emotional reactions, hardwired behaviors and perceptions and beliefs. So if there's a lot of that is negative and you grew up in a dysfunctional family, a lot of this is what happens. And we get into situations where we end up having panic attacks, or in my case, it kept on going. A lot of times we get into relationships that we really shouldn't be in, or we're not happy. Majority of, some of the loneliest people in the world are married because the majority of people in our world, ladies and gentlemen, lead lives of quiet desperation, because their ego won't allow them to express how they really feel, because their subconscious programming is that, well, this is how they dealt with this, so this is how I deal with it. Okay, so the environment signals the gene called this is called epigenetics. Okay, so the environment signal in the gene. The emotion we feel from an event signals the genes. If the event is strong enough, the person begins to wear this trauma, not just in the brain, but in the body as well. Every time they think of this event, the brain wires and fires circuits, and they feel the emotions in their body. So this is how we start to, you can see it. People, they're not moving around as much. They don't have as much energy. Why? Because it takes a tremendous amount of energy for the body to process this and try to chemically deal with this because of the type of genes our bodies are down regulating, of anger, of stress, of frustration, of envy, of jealousy. It goes on, right? Of doubt, of guilt, of shame. These types of energies take a real toll on our body. Okay, so this is conditioning the body to become the mind. Okay, the mind of anxiety. This is what that does. Again, panic attack without us even knowing about it. Okay, so COVID, war, crime, climate change, economy, heart rate increases, tension headaches, butterflies in the stomach. Now, the butterflies in the stomach, how many times have you heard that? Ooh, we got little butterflies in my stomach. Well, that's the body reacting to what we were thinking. And what we're thinking is a program that's running inside of us that we're not even aware of. However, there are two types of nervous systems. The autonomic nervous system I talked about a few minutes ago, okay? There's a sympathetic and parasympathetic. The sympathetic is the gas pedal. The parasympathetic is the brake. The sympathetic, okay, protects the dangers, our dangers from the outer world. It's the fight or flight, okay? Any fight or flight from any kind of danger that they're saying is danger out there, okay? Use all the energy, got to survive, take care of our body, okay? Can work well in short term, but no energy, okay? Our energy leaves the brain and the heart, but no energy if abused long term, okay? There's no energy for growth and repair. So this is what I was talking about. If we're living our life where we're stressed all the time, competition, if we're in types of environments or jobs where there's a lot of competition, you're in sales or corporations or whatever, and you got to work, you got to meet deadlines, right? This is all what we're accustomed to. Why? Well, because if we go back to our subconscious programming when we were born, third trimester through age 7, if this is who raised us, and we look up to those people, right? I can remember this here, my brother-in-law having the real good job of living in the upper middle class area here in our state. And we all thought, wow, he's doing really well, which he was, he made very good money, 6 figures or even more, but he would get sick before going to work. So what kind of life is that? Does he like that life? No. Now, here's the flip side of that. When he retired, right, we all said, wow, what happened to him? He's like a changed man. So when you get rid of all this stuff, suddenly his whole demeanor changed. Okay, our parasympathetic, okay, or the second type or second fate area of that is the brake. Okay, it's immune. It takes on. This is part of the immune system. Okay, it protects dangers in our inner world. It need to get wants to get the body back into balance, relax. The dangers are viruses, bacteria, fungus. This is how our body fights off that. So this is why if you're having this type of you're living in this type of environment, eventually this starts to break down because it's using all the energy. There's a battle between these two. You're putting the gas, you're slamming on the gas pedal and the brake at the same time. This is taking place because something perceived on the outside. That person we're pissed off at, we're talking about in the car, okay? This is taking place. At the same time, the brake's going on because they're like, well, we need to keep some energy in our body to fight off this stuff. And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, many times you hear about people, hey, 30 years, 20 years after high school, and Bob has got a heart condition, or this person's got cancer. That person, God forbid, you hear about they took their own life because they couldn't handle it anymore. Or 2 or 3 divorces later. This is why, because there's a battle between the two. Okay, so if something outside us is controlling how we think and how we react or feel, we becoming a victim to that environment or to those people. It's a programmed subconscious. It's our subconscious programming. So going back to the scenario in the car, we're victims to that person or that event. We don't even realize it. Why? Well, because oftentimes the people who raised us, who were our role models, were victims themselves. When we go and, go get a stiff drink to take care of things, we're a victim to that environment. But this is why the beverage and, the alcoholic beverage industry is, multi billions, if not trillions of dollars. Competition. What's the thing that has this marriage with competition? Well, sports and what? Alcohol, and now gambling. Everywhere you go, you see gamble, gamble, gamble. Why? Because the more they can get you hooked, okay, they can get their hooks into you. Skinner's box, right? the more they can get their hooks into you, the more they control you. So if you're gambling and tomorrow, there's basketball playoffs or hockey playoffs and you're gambling on it or whatever, you're going to Atlantic City, I'm here in New Jersey or Las Vegas, and suddenly you're, holy crap, I'm down so much money. Guess where you're going to go? Well, you're going to run away from the bookies, but you got to keep that job, right? Skinner's box. Go get the job, they say. Sure, sure, sure. And then what do? You go buy a house, 30-year fixed mortgage, Skinner's box. You see what I'm saying? So this is, and I'm saying I'm painting a pretty bleak picture here, and I said all about how we can maybe help ourselves. This is how we can strengthen our inner environment. This is how we do it, okay? When we place our intention in our heart, okay, our center of oneness, the center of divinity, love, gratitude, compassion, kindness, care, freedom, joy, carefree. When we start to focus on that, okay, we start doing that. The formula is for 4 days or for 15 minutes a day, just for 4 days, for 15 minutes a day, focus on, meditate on this. We'll strengthen our, and you can obviously see this, strengthen our system, immune system by 50%. 4 days, ladies and gentlemen. We take 15 minutes of our day and we sit, we get away from everything, we focus, we relax, we meditate, but we focus on this, okay? We do that for 4 days, for 15 minutes a day, 50% increase in our immune system. Why? Because when we are focusing on that, we are up-regulating, the other was down-regulating, we are up-regulating genes in our body to help heal our body. Do you know the greatest pharmacy in the world is our body? Of course, big pharma can't have you know that, right? Big government can't have you knowing that. Schools can't have you knowing that. Religion can't have you knowing that, right? They want to focus on down-regulating the genes because that creates more anxiety. It creates more addictions, and they profit so much off of addictions. This, ladies and gentlemen, not only this, I'm a big proponent. You see my watch here. It's now o'clock. Everything happens right now. We can change the subconscious programs inside of us by getting ourselves to meditate, but not just to meditate on that, which, yes, we want to meditate and we have an attitude of gratitude. We want to live our lives thankful of everything that we have. I'm so thankful for you guys watching this. And if you haven't done so already and you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel, and you hit the notification bell so you can see the library of all my videos. And if you're watching this, you feel so inclined, hit fill out some information down below, leave a comment, share these videos, because, ladies and gentlemen, there's no conditioning to this. I don't care if just one person's listening to me right now or a million people listen to me right now. I prefer the million because the more people hear this type of message, the more we can heal the world. And I'm not talking just physically, I'm talking emotionally. And we can get people to think more about who it is inside of them. Okay, when we go to our heart, we go to the center of divinity. It's who we are at our core. And if you don't like your job, you go to that core and you start to tap in to that person that's always been there that you've ignored for so long, or you were told, you're wasting your time. If YouTube creators thought they were wasting their time, we wouldn't have this medium in which to connect. If the Wright brothers thought they were wasting their time, then we wouldn't have airplanes today, right? I mean, just look around. There's nothing built there out in our world that wasn't already built in here first. So if you're somebody who's struggling with maybe some addictions, or struggling with, and it doesn't have to be addictions to gambling or to chemicals, what have you. It could be addictions to just poor sense of self-worth and a poor sense of self. You go here, you become grateful for who you are. You look in the mirror tonight before you go to sleep. You lay in your bed, and as you're starting to drift off to sleep, you're going into what's called theta. Theta is that space between awake and sleep. Same thing first thing in the morning. Theta is before we're completely sleepy, awake, and we're not quite not sleeping anymore. We're in the middle. Okay. The theta is third trimester through age 7, the hypnotic stage. And as we talk to ourselves then about this, but about who we want to be, who we aspire to be, when we're talking to ourselves in that state, theta, we're talking directly to our subconscious. Remember, like I told you guys, the body's so objective, it doesn't understand whether or not whatever you're thinking about. If you're struggling to make money, you tell yourself you're a millionaire. To the rational mind, it's saying, dude, you're in a studio apartment. What are you talking about, a millionaire? You hate your job. It's a dead end job. That's the analytical, rational mind. But if you say this during theta, the subconscious, the body is so objective, it doesn't understand. It says, okay, fine, you're a millionaire. I'm going to give you more reasons to believe you're a millionaire. But if you do this for 15 minutes and the rest of your day, you're out flipping the bird to somebody who cut you off on the highway, you got to not just do this for 15 minutes, although you're going to increase your immune system, but you want to become sort of a practitioner of this. You want to learn this, and you want this to be part of who you are, and you want to live your life moment to moment. I'm to the point now where I literally in moments I'm like, oh wait a minute, I got to get centered, because I do. We all sort of drift like this. Sort of like here's a straight line, we kind of here, then we're here, we're back again. Although that probably didn't straight. That's straight there, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, it's you. If you're like a giant battleship, learning this today for the first time, you've just adjusted the coordinates on your compass. If you're going to start doing this, you've just adjusted the coordinate on your compass. The target may be way the hell out there, and you're still drifting, but as long as you adjusted that compass, the battleship is eventually going to start to turn. And if you're going to do a 180, it's going to take a little while to turn all the way around. If you're 35 or older, it may take a little while, but you start to incorporate this. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is how we can increase our immune system by 50%. Very simple formula, but one no one's really ever really heard about. If you start to incorporate this, I promise you, and you start doing this and start doing this on a daily basis and becoming more and more in tune with this, serendipities are going to start taking place in your life. Events will start happening. People will start showing up. It has been doing it for me for a couple of years now. This video found you. Better yet, you attracted this video for a reason. There are no accidents in this universe, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you so much for watching this video, for subscribing to my channel, each and every one of you. I'm so blessed that you are a part of my community here. We are going to spread this message worldwide. It is my passion to have more and more people hear this message on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. Thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you again. God bless.